these questions, try practicing by answering these questions in the comments below. I would love to see what you say about answering these questions, and try to use these idioms if you can. All right, so let's get right into it. We are on the businessenglishresources.com website, and they have these great idiom conversation questions with these highly used idioms. So we're going to learn these idioms and practice answering these questions. So our first business English topic is success. So rags to riches. So this idiom means going from being poor to being very rich and wealthy. So tell us a rags to riches story about someone from your country. Does this person's story inspire you? Well, not really into biographies, so I can't really specifically mention one person that I know that went from rags to riches. I know that a lot of artists, I think, from what I've heard, a lot of famous singers have gone from being poor and homeless to being wealthy and known all over the world. So I'm sure there are a lot of rags to riches stories there. So if you guys could post an example below, that would be awesome. All right, ahead of the curve. What are some things your company does to stay ahead of the curve? Are you involved at all? So ahead of the curve means, like, especially in business, like you are being more, you're coming out with things sooner, you're starting trends sooner, or you're just, your business, when you're staying ahead of the curve, your business is starting successful projects before other, or your business is getting into successful things before other businesses, before it really catches on. So like staying ahead of the curve could be like joining Twitter before Twitter became really popular, and then you just blew up and exploded on Twitter and it was a huge success. That would be one example of staying ahead of the curve. So I don't really have a company, but yeah, maybe for those of you who are working in a company, let us know, what are you guys doing to stay ahead of the curve and staying innovative? This is a really interesting time because of the whole COVID-19 thing. A lot of businesses are now forced to try to either be ahead of the curve or in order to survive, or just shut down their doors. So yeah, very interesting times. I see a lot of businesses are taking their business onto like Facebook Live and YouTube Live and things like that. So when they've never done that before, and it's like something really new for them. So that could be one way. On top of the world. Have you ever felt like you were on top of the world? Tell us about it. That's an interesting question. So on top of the world, like it's when you just feel like you're so happy and so fulfilled and like so powerful, you can do anything you want, and you feel like you have reached success and you're looking down on the world. So that's on top of the world. I remember feeling this way when I was really young. I don't think I was necessarily on top of the world, but I felt like I was on top of the world when I was a teenager. Like I loved my life and I was really happy, and I still am. but I didn't have that incredible like amounts of youth and enthusiasm that I had when I was like 16, 17 years old. I hope you guys can relate. Like that was an amazing time where you're so excited about exploring the world and learning new things, and the world just looks like one giant game and adventure to be explored. And I still have that feeling, but it's nowhere near as intense as it was when I was younger. So I felt like I was on top of the world then. Okay, pull off. Tell us about something difficult that you had to do that you were somehow able to pull off. How were you able to pull it off? Hmm. Okay, so pull it off, or pull off means that you were able to do something or accomplish something, and usually it means that that thing that you did was difficult. So, I don't know if I have a great example for this one, but one really difficult thing I had to pull off was when I was going for my master's degree. There's something called a capstone course, which is a course that is a summary of all of the courses that you have taken for your degree. And it is the hardest class there is. And I remember when I was doing my capstone course, it was just so much work and it was so exhausting. And there were so many projects and papers that I had to turn in, but I managed to pull it off and I got an A in the class and I graduated with straight A's. So I was able to pull that off and very glad I did. Um, Live up to its expectations. Tell us about an experience you had that didn't live up to its expectations. Tell us about an experience you had that did live up to its expectations. So, in this context, live up to its expectations means that you were going to do something. Maybe you traveled somewhere, or you watched a movie, or you experienced something, and if it didn't live up to your expectations, that kind of means like you're disappointed. You thought it was going to be awesome and it turned out to be kind of blah. Or if it did live up to its expectations, then what you thought before, maybe you thought it was going to be okay, or maybe you thought it was going to be awesome, it turned out to be exactly what you thought it was. So it turned out to be okay if you thought it was okay, or it became awesome if you thought it was going to be awesome. So, my experiences of living up to its expectations. Well, that's a funny thing. I really think I think about movies. Usually when I go to the cinema, it is for a movie that I think is going to be incredible, or my friend is dragging me to this movie and I know nothing about it. So, um, I remember I went in to see a movie that my friend brought me to. I didn't know anything about this film, and it blew me away. Like, I just went in just thinking, okay, I'm going to watch a movie. I don't know if this is going to be good or not. I don't know anything about it. And I loved that movie. I thought that was like one of the best movies of the year. Um, but on the other hand, I remember going in and thinking, oh, I can't wait to see this movie. I would even like buy a ticket. If no one else wanted to go, I would go by myself. And I would buy a ticket for a movie that I've been waiting to come out for a long time. I was really excited, but it did not live up to my expectations. Like it was not as interesting as I thought it was going to be. It wasn't as good. So I was kind of disappointed. So yeah, it didn't live up to my expectations. Um, but, you know, talking about an experience that did live up to my expectations, ooh, I want to tell you about this one. So I once took a trip to Japan just for a day. Um, I just stopped through Japan just to see what it would be like. And I have always wanted to go to Japan. And I remember even being a teenager, I was really interested in Japan. And when I went there, I wasn't there for very long. Like I was only there for like 24 hours, but I only slept for 4 hours. So I was going to enjoy as much as I could. And it it exceeded my expectations. So exceeded my expectations is that means that what I thought of it, like I thought it was going to be amazing, but it was even better than amazing. Like it was just incredible. I was so blown away. It definitely lived up to my expectations, but it exceeded them. So that's a really good example for that one. Win-win. Tell us about a win-win situation at work. How did everyone benefit from this? So a win-win situation is when everyone has like a different opinion about something or they have a different idea. And a win-win situation is when everyone gets their idea approved. So sometimes like you don't always agree on something, but you can find a way to make it happen where everyone's idea gets approved. So that's like a win-win situation. Um, or a situation where like everyone's happy. Like I'm happy with how it turned out and you're happy with how it turned out and the students are happy with how it turned out. So a win-win situation at work. Well, I can't really think of one, but maybe you have an example. Post in the comments below if you have had like a win-win situation where everyone's idea, even if they seemed different, like in the end when you did a project or had a major plan or something and everyone was happy in the end. So tell us about that. Knocked out of the park. Tell us about something you or your team, organization, company, or something knocked out of the park. How did you feel afterwards? So this is a sports idiom. Knocked out of the park means you did an incredible job. Like you exceeded expectations, you did an amazing job. The project just worked out perfectly. So something that you knocked out of the park. Well, I can't like think of a specific thing that I have done that like really like knocked it out of the park because I don't usually work in that. Like I usually work on like projects that as a teacher I work on developing like material and curriculum and things like that, and it's really hard to like think of like knocking something out of the park when you do a great job at that, because knocking something out of the park usually means like it was a one-time event that just worked out so very well. So I don't know, but if you can think of something like maybe you worked as a team or you did an incredible job at something, let us know if you have ever knocked something out of the park before. All right. Saved the day. Tell us about a time someone saved the day at work. What would have happened if this person hadn't saved the day? Hmm. So saved the day means that like something terrible happened. It was just like maybe a huge event had to be canceled, or something terrible was about to happen. And then one of the people at your work came in and they just fixed it just like that. And they saved the day. Um, this has definitely happened to me a lot in my career, but I can't like right now, I can't really think of any specific time when someone like really saved the day. Um, I kind of have like memories of needing things for my classes, and at the last minute, I wasn't like ready for my class because I didn't have this one thing that I needed. And like at the last minute, people came in with exactly what I needed, whether it be like a tool or a pile of tests or a pile of papers or something. So in those instances, they like those people saved the day, um, in like little minor ways for me, I thought. Okay, come a long way. Do you know anyone who has come a long way? Where did this person start out and what is he or she doing now? So, come a long way is like you developed your life in a way that was successful. Like, not necessarily that you are completely successful, but um, you started out bad and you improved a lot. Maybe your life was bad, um, or things weren't so great in the beginning, but you have improved a lot, or your life has improved a lot. So you've come a long way. So, do you know anyone who has come a long way? Where did this person start out, and what is he or she doing now? Hmm. Well, I can't really think of another individual, but I feel like I've come a long way in my teaching. I remember a long time ago, long time ago, almost like 10 years ago, I was just like so excited about becoming a teacher, and I started at a school. I didn't get really any teaching experience, and I was thrown into a class of teenagers having no idea how to teach. I was teaching English. I didn't really know much about it. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I did not do well in my English classes when I was in high school and middle school. I was bad. Like my English classes, I got almost the worst scores of any of my classes. I was usually an A-B student, but in my English classes, I usually got like D's. I even was failing one class, so they switched me to a different teacher, and it was already halfway through, and I didn't even have the chance to catch up in that class because they were already halfway through a book I'd never read before. And so I failed and I had to take another English class with a third teacher. And luckily that teacher was amazing and I did a really good job in her class. So I never imagined that I was going to become an English teacher. I hated English. I thought it was boring. My teachers were mean. Like, they were some of the meanest teachers I've ever had. Um, but I really grew a passion for teaching English when young people came to me and they just wanted to know every little thing they could about English since I'm a native speaker. And since then, I have become an English teacher, and I promised that I was not going to make English boring like the way I was taught in school. I was not going to be a mean teacher. I was going to have my students just have a blast, like just a really good time in the class learning. And they weren't ever going to feel like ashamed, like they didn't understand or they didn't know, because I would always help them and make sure that they understood the hard stuff. And I would actually, because it was originally hard for me, I learned how to make it like really easy for them to understand, because sometimes English books kind of overcomplicate things and use way too many like high advanced words. Uh, and sometimes you just really need like someone to explain it to you in a really simple way. And you're like, oh, I get it. Okay, that makes sense. Why has no one ever explained it to me that way before? So from the beginning, I have come a really long way in teaching English. I mean, I worked really hard at understanding how people learn and understanding the English language and how people best learn that and how to make it interesting and fun for them. And I've developed curriculum and I've done so many things and I've had a lot of experience. So I've come a really long way as a teacher. And I know, like, I don't even get nervous for a class anymore. I get excited, definitely, because I'm still passionate about teaching English, but I don't get like nervous to start a class because I know exactly what to say and I know exactly what I'm doing. So I've come a long way in my teaching career. Okay, so that was our business English idioms for success. And please, if you would like to join in on the conversation, answer these questions and post your answers below. And also, if you have any questions, post them in the comments below. I would love to start a conversation with these. And again,